what a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through Muller, could be embarrassing. It's three. Tony Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Barkley's found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello and welcome to hashtag TFHP Euros. It's the Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host, Kris. And boy, have we got a show for you tonight. Crikey O'Reilly, have we? I am joined by John and I'm joined by Ross, who are both, well, kind of in moods very different from one another, I would imagine. So good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Right, now we're going to do something.
Tell it in the timbre of our voices, can't you?
I was just going to say that, yeah. You could give it away, couldn't you? We're going to do things a bit different tonight. We're going to go in reverse order because I have a feeling that a lot of our lovely listeners abroad would quite like to mock England, and our lovely listeners in this country would probably quite like to sympathise and cry into their beer. So, Ross, sorry, mate, I'm going to have to start with you. England won Iceland 2. Now, it would be unfair to say I didn't see this coming, because I think any English fan, if they were honest, would say it would be so typically England. But even I didn't really believe this would happen. How did it happen? And what is your immediate thoughts, given we know that Roy Hodgson has resigned? So what's your thoughts on the whole affair tonight?
I don't normally like to take credit for stuff that I say in the past and predictions I make, but I'm going to here.
You called it, didn't you?
I got a lot of stick off people when I said I would have loved Portugal in this round, and Iceland were the worst choice. Yeah. Because Iceland set up in banks of four. They will try and stop us from playing. They'll ask us to play through them. And the only thing we learned from the group stage was we can't do that. We can play decent football, we can move it around, we'd look okay up front, but we cannot break teams down because our finishing just isn't good enough. And I got laughed at, and I know Drew also contested it in the WhatsApp group. He said to me that, Portugal would be a very tough game, you'd risk losing. Yeah, I'd still rather have had Portugal. Iceland were the worst choice from Group F, and we got them, and it happened exactly as I saw it. It wasn't the result, it wasn't the performance that surprised me. What surprised me was just how bad it got in the second half. It was shocking how poor it became in the second half. I mean, it seemed so desperate and so confused that even 5-yard passes were being overhit. We had Harry Kane taking free kicks. Again, he'll be taking goal kicks next. It also, very, very telling for me, just how much we lost our heads. When Rashford came on, we got a corner on like the 87th minute. Rashford wins it, and he immediately goes to take the corner. Why on earth is Rashford taking a corner with 3 minutes to go when we are desperate for a goal? What you need there is someone that can put in a proper ball. You need to guarantee the delivery is going to be good. He takes the corner, doesn't even beat the first man. Suddenly, everyone's heads just went because it was like, oh my God, we're losing 2-1 to Iceland. This is going to be awful. And it just all fell apart. And all the good things I've been saying about England up until half time, I thought, that's right, even on the pod tonight, I'll still be able to say some good things about the way they played first half. All undone by a second half where all 11 players just lost their heads, didn't know what they were doing, overplayed it, tried too hard. And it was just exactly what I thought it was going to be, exactly how I thought it was going to go. And full credit to Iceland because they were fantastic, but they were just the wrong team to get in this round, and doesn't surprise me at all.
No, we will definitely give some credit to Iceland in a minute. So please, for our one Iceland, I know we've got one Icelandic listener. I must find his name. I shall do that while we're podding. But we do have one Icelandic listener, and we will give them credit. But John, I want to just stick with England for a minute because obviously they are going to be the story. We all live in England. The fallout has already begun, as I said there to Ross Hodgson, as Roy Hodgson has resigned, possibly to take the heat off the players. I don't think it's going to work, though, do you?
No, not really, because they really did not perform at all tonight. I mean, they got the perfect start. Exactly what you needed, because as Ross said, Iceland wasn't really a great draw. I know everyone sort of thought, it'll be a bit of a grindy game, but they'll get the result. They'll work it out. But as Ross said, they sit so deep, and we've struggled with teams that do that for so long now. Getting that goal early on, I just thought, well, okay, I don't really cheer England, as everyone knows. I've been following Italy in the tournament. But I thought that's perfect for England. They've got the early goal. Iceland have got to, come out a little bit more. England can maybe just control it for 10, 15 minutes, just keep the ball for a bit, and then start applying more pressure. England got the goal. I went downstairs to get a drink. I came back up and it was 1-1. I'd missed the equaliser. It was that fast. And then when they showed the replay of it, it's ridiculous. That is the worst level of defending I think I've ever seen. England knew exactly what Iceland were going to do in this game. It was all set pieces, long balls, running and hitting on the counter when they could, winning in the knockdowns and all that kind of thing. And the defence for the throw-in for that first goal was so bad. Dele Alli and Carl Walker losing the second runner. I think it was Sigurdsson who scored the goal, the centre-back. But even the first ball, they said on the coverage here, they were talking about it, Wayne Rooney marking, I honestly can't remember the Icelandic player who won the first flick on. But why is Wayne Rooney marking him? Why not, a centre-back or Harry Kane or someone who's stronger and better in the air? From a tactic they're going to use. And then a lot of people questioned the sort of lineup changes. I didn't think it was too bad. I thought there was an argument for either Wilshere or Lallana starting the game. Because, like Ross said, they're going to sit back, they're going to sit deep, so you need someone with a bit of creative spark to be able to break through. And I thought Lallana, to be honest, had probably been one of England's best sort of players going forwards. Wayne Rooney looked very frustrated in the first half. I didn't think England were too bad, and the fact it was 1-1 was disappointing, but he was trying to get them to speed up the play of the passing. It just wasn't there. And in second half, it just looked like it had hit them in the dressing room. It was almost as if Roy Hodgson had said, you are drawing with Iceland. You can't, you're losing to Iceland. You can't go out and lose this game. This is ridiculous. And it just it hit them as they walked onto the pitch. They couldn't string a pass together. They couldn't control the ball. He started throwing on forwards, which, okay, you get that, but he didn't bring on anyone who could get the ball to the forwards. You've got was it 5 strikers or something ridiculous on the pitch? That's fine, but you only had Jack Wilshere was the only player who's going to be able to pass the ball for him. It just looked like a complete mess. They totally lost their heads. Iceland were fantastic. They were so good, disciplined, full of energy. The running, even so towards the end of the game, they were still running the ball down and trying to get another goal, and they were really, really well disciplined. Some of the tackles they made were absolutely fantastic. I don't know if it was Sigurdsson or Arnason who made one of the best tackles I've seen this tournament. Bonucci and Chiellini would have been proud of it on Jamie Vardy when he was running into the box. It was superb.
Absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that.
But Eric Dyer, who's had a really, really good tournament for England, was just completely missing for the goal. For the second one in particular, which it was nice build-up play. For Iceland, they passed it around well, but no tackles, no pressure on the ball, just all stood off them. Dele Alli didn't turn up. Like Ross said, Harry Kane, why is he taking free kicks? Why is he not on the end of the free kick? You've put Wayne Rooney in midfield. So, for his passing ability and stuff, let him take the free kick then, because he can deliver those sort of balls. He's done it before, he did it for Man United. Really confusing, and I think it is partly down to Hodgson. Obviously, he has got to take the blame, and he's resigned now, which is fair enough. But those players have seriously got to look at themselves, because they just didn't perform at all. The only one who looked like he had a bit of passion, and maybe I'm overdoing it just because he is that kind of player and runs about a bit, looked to me like Jamie Vardy, honestly, because the rest of them just didn't have a clue what they were doing.
No, I agree. People ask me, they often ask me, why are you so anti-English? Why do you? I've had people say to me, why do you hate your own country? Why do you back teams against you? And the answer for me is quite simple. The last time I genuinely felt like I had something in common and a real connection to the English football team was Euro 96. Yeah. And that's genuinely how I felt, and granted, I know some people will say listening to this, oh, right, well, you're a turncoat, so you gave up on them but when they didn't win. It's not a case of that. It's just simply a case of that was the last time, whether it was because it was in England or whether it's because we had that group of players, but it was the last time when you had the Shearers, you had the Adams. This is going to hurt a lot, but you had the Sheringhams. You had players that bled for that shirt. The Stuart Pearces, They left everything on that pitch. That game against Holland in Euro '96 is still one of the best football matches I've ever seen, and it was just pure, adrenaline. And let's be honest, I mean, I don't know if you guys would agree, it wasn't the greatest pool of players we've ever produced. I don't think. There was a lot of fairly average players in that squad, but there was so much togetherness that the supporters were behind the players, the country really united, and these tournaments now, I don't think you can just blame the media, and I want to get your take on this in a minute, Russ, with your connections in that field, but I do think that we massively overrate our players, and we massively overrate our Premier League, and we massively overrate the talent levels, and inevitably the questions will be asked once again about grassroots football. As a very limited football manager of my own esteem, managing at grassroots level on a Sunday morning, I can confirm the facilities that we have for young footballers are shocking, absolutely shocking. And until all of it is addressed, this will continue to happen. However good a pool of players we've got at any given tournament, it's rotten from the ground up. And as long as those players play like they did tonight, where for long periods I felt they were passionless and at times gutless, I can't see this changing. And that is essentially why I shun supporting England, because I just can't get behind a team that really don't seem to get behind the reason they're there.
They looked scared to take responsibility. To go and they didn't want to go and get the ball and make something happen, and try and create a chance. It just wasn't happening. And it's funny, this tournament has shown so far the teams that don't necessarily have the big superstars or one big standout player. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, you look at Iceland, Italy obviously are a much higher level above, but they don't really have a superstar player. They're just very well organised. They're all together. They all play for each other, whether they're in the first 11 or they're on the bench. And all the coaching staff, they're all very united and close, and they all really celebrate together. And you've seen other teams that have got lots and lots of superstars, and they'll put in a performance here for 20 minutes, they'll put in a performance there for 30 minutes, but it's never the full 90. It doesn't look like they've always fit. Like France haven't really found their system yet. England didn't look like they'd found a system yet. Belgium looked very good in their last game, but that's only one out of the tournament so far. And against a team that was very, very open. So I think it's telling, and it does go down to a lot of it goes down to coaching as well. There seems to be those teams that have been coached and drilled very well, and they'll just get the result. They don't rely on one player.
Yeah, excellent points. And Ross, I have to sort of get your thoughts on, from a media perspective, and again, for any of our new listeners, you have worked in this kind of field or studied in this kind of field, so you'll know a little bit about how the press will spin this. They are going to be out with knives tomorrow. I think that's inevitable, and to be honest, rightly so. Do you think that some of the blame can be attached to the media? Is that even fair, or does the blame have to be squarely levelled at the FA, at the system, at the players? Do you think it's all just one big mess? Is it a bit of everything?
I think it is a bit of everything, but I think the media this time around haven't been as bad as they have been in the past, in my opinion. I remember specifically when we went to the 2010 World Cup, the media were hyping us as possible winners and possible favourites. Questions about how far we could go, how good the team was, last gasp for some of the golden generation, that kind of thing. This year, there seemed to be a bit of temperance in the media that said, okay, the FA say that we're going to try and win the World Cup in 2022. This is a good tournament to try and bleed players in, see what they can do. So there did seem to be a little bit of temperance, but obviously, as soon as things go wrong, the media jumps on it, and they do make it worse than it is. But I also think the FA haven't helped them in that, because the FA tried to calm everyone and say, right, we're gonna start again. We're gonna try a new manager, a new system, new players, bring in the youth, focus on the grassroots. We're gonna aim for the 2022 World Cup. Everything now is just going to be a learning curve. So the fans, the media, they all said, let's see how it goes. Let's get behind it. We've seen good signs from this team. We've seen that Wayne well in midfield. We've seen that Sturridge and Sterling, well, not Sterling this tournament, Vardy. We have got good attack now, and we aren't picking players just because of names. We are bringing in players that have done well in the domestic season. Not enough, but we are starting to do it a bit more. The media kind of went, okay, fair enough. Let's see how we go. But it's more the FA saying now that we're going to be this big super powerhouse in the next couple of years. I think that's now got everyone wound up, because I didn't see the media doing it that much. Of course they still did it in sections, but not as badly as they have in the past. And for me, I don't blame the FA for that. I don't blame them for that at all, because they want to start getting kids more involved. They want to start making people believe in the English football team again. But I think setting that deadline of the 2022 World Cup and saying this is the group, this is the team that can do it, I think that's premature. You've got to see it grow naturally. You've got to be able to see the progression, and to already have that line ahead of us, and to think in 6 years' time this team is meant to be winning that World Cup. It's too much. I think it's far too much for the players to handle. I think it's too much for the fans to think about and to believe in. And I think the media will rightfully scorn England for this and question just how good that plan really is.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be worth, worth or not worth, tuning into certain stations and reading certain papers tomorrow. But I promise we will move on to the next game in a second, John, because I know you're chomping at the bit. But simple question to you: does it matter enough to England players? Do they care enough? And I've heard so many people say over this time, you can't question their heart. No player wants to lose. No player goes on the pitch sort of not caring. But I'd ask you this question: if I'm paying you £120,000 a week to podcast, do you sometimes sort of phone it in a little bit, knowing you're going to get paid? By the way, that's not an offer, just in case. That's liable. I'm not £1.20 maybe. Not.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't think any footballer, or okay, you can't say any, but I genuinely think like 90+% of footballers all go out and want to win every single game, because you just don't want to lose, because no one enjoys the feeling of losing. I know there are some players who football is just a job and that's it, but you can't say they go, oh well, I get paid this much money, so I'm not really going to perform, because there's players in other countries that play for other countries that would get paid just as much or even more and go out and perform for their country. I do think there is. I think Ross is right. I don't think the media did go overboard this time. I think it was very much more restrained, and it was kind of a, England get to the quarterfinals. If they get to there or further, it's probably a decent tournament. There wasn't really too much expectation, but I do think the players do feel it, do feel the pressure a lot, and I think because they're in. Obviously, they're in the English league, but because it's the Premier League and it is the biggest league in the world, and whatever, and are seen week in, week out, I do think there's so much around them, so much hype, that they're in this sort of this weird bubble that you don't. I don't get the impression you have that in other national teams. Obviously, if the Italian team do badly or get a bad result, it will be in the papers and they will be sort of slated for it. But it doesn't drag on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I don't think the Italian players they sort of move on with it. And I think the same thing happens with Spain and other countries as well. So I think they do all want to go out and perform. But I think this has been a case of this is the first game they've been tested in defence at all, really. Joe Hart had an absolute howler for the second goal. It's got to be said. He's second of the tournament as well, which is really disappointing because I like Joe Hart. I think he's a good keeper. And
I wanted to bring him up,
I know he will be very annoyed with that because he's better than that, and we all know he is. He's a very good keeper. He's made some amazing saves in the England shirt and for Man City for a long time. But there's a good group of players there, but they've just got to get the tactics right. And I don't think when the FA appointed Roy Hodgson, I understand why they did it. They wanted an English manager. Everyone wanted Harry Redknapp. They couldn't do it at the time because of all the court case that was going on with possible tax avoidance and so on, what was going on. So they went with Roy Hodgson. It was the safe approach. It was the sort of sensible one. But I don't think he's the manager to for these type of players. You're not going to get the best out of them. So I hope for the sake of the England team, they go and appoint someone. I don't know. There's talk about Gareth Southgate, maybe Gary Neville, someone like that. Just a younger coach with some fresh ideas, because they've got the players there. They've got a decent squad. They are talented, but they just don't. I don't know what it is about tournament football. There's a mental blank, and I think once they get to say a semi-final or something in a tournament, like beating a big team along the way, and then maybe that will go. But until that happens, they're going to keep coming up with these problems. I think there was a stat said tonight something about England haven't won a game in knockout football in a tournament. Is it since then? Yeah. And that was the previous time before that was like, I think it's within the space of like 30 years or something like that. Like the amount of games that have gone to extra time or penalties, and we've gone through in that way. So there obviously is some sort of mental block, maybe. I don't know. But it was just bizarre. But hats off to Iceland, because they've been, throughout the entire tournament, they've been so good. Just defensively solid. They've got better each game. I thought at times they actually made England look a bit stupid when they were defending deep, and then one player would bring the ball down, he'd get chased down by 3 England players who were completely out of position, and he'd just calmly pass it back. It's like when you watch sort of a group of, like, I don't know, if you watch 7-a-side football and you see a team of 40-year-old men, don't walk, they just walk everywhere, don't run, and they just casually pass the ball around a group of 18-year-olds who all chase after the ball because they've got no positional sense or anything else. Yeah. And they were just calm like that through the whole game. They just all knew their jobs and they just got on with it. There was just too many, headless chickens running around for England tonight.
Yeah, and massive credit to Lars Lagerbäck, who 7 games against England now, unbeaten. He's got their number all right, and as you rightly say, I mean, for Iceland, it's just the most incredible performance. I mean, look at this whole tournament: Wales, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Hungary. I'm sure I'm missing teams out of this. Iceland, obviously themselves, just been so many. Even Algeria, who went out,
Albania,
really impressed some of their football. Algeria. Albania, but that was the World Cup, wasn't it? But there were some teams that even though they went out early, really did impress at times, and some of the others have just not. It's full credit to Iceland, full credit, and I tell you what, France will not be looking forward to that. I can 100% assure you of that. But we will touch on the quarter-final lineup in a second.
Oh, one little stat I was going to say. Sorry,
England,
just before you go.
Go on.
For anyone in the UK, there's a shopping chain. If you don't live in the UK, called Iceland. A freezer sort of food department store. You know what I mean? But there was a good stat I saw earlier that more people work for Iceland, the company, and are from than live in the country.
That's
just
quality,
fantastic.
Yeah, I must admit, I was one of those people who tweeted a picture of an Iceland store at full time. I have to be honest with that. Ross, sort of drawing a line under this sort of England debacle, because I'm sure people will want to hear us talk about the mighty Italians and the Spanish as well. So, wrapping up the England talk, where do you want to see us? Where do you want to see England go from here? John's touched upon the fact that the early successors or names being bandied around are Gary Neville and Gareth Southgate. I tend to disagree with John slightly in that to me feels a little bit like the same thing again, even though John's point is perfectly valid, they're younger coaches. Do you not think that the foreign option is the right way to go, but rather than what we've done before, we actually get the right foreign manager?
Yes. From the current favourites list, I'd be okay with Gareth Southgate. I wouldn't be overly joyed about it, but I'd be okay with it because he can bring up some of the under-21s that he's been working with for so long, and they do play a very impressive pressing style. So I'd be okay with Southgate. I fear it's going to be someone like David Moyes. I would love to see it be Pellegrini myself, because he's not going to get the Southampton job now. That looks like it's going to Claude Puel. He says he wants to stay in England. He's got an offer from Russia. If he's going to go into an international management, then England seems like a fair shout. And we know what he can do with these players. Some of them are from Man City. He's coached them before. We've seen how he got that team motivated and got them playing. He got them ready for tournaments and cup football. So I'm all in favour of Pellegrini myself. It depends entirely on whether or not he'd be interested in the job. But to me, though, the stars seem to be aligning for him. So he'd be my pick early doors. But I think the other point to make is that the one manager that's had the biggest influence over England in the past 10 years has been Mauricio Pochettino. We're not going to be able to get him, but if you can find someone that can implement his kind of style, then this England team really does roar, because the amount of players that he has brought through and that England have looked at and started to try and implement and bring in his style, for me, it's got to be someone that can implement that kind of press and high intensity. That's how we get the best out of these England players.
I'm with you. And John, just thinking about it, I wonder if a certain manager that manages a certain club that we follow I wonder if this was a year down the line, would he be quite tempted by this job?
He is in the bookies odds. I think it was
frame,
25 or 28 to 1 or something like that, yeah.
But then so was Brendan Rodgers, who's just taken the sewing job. So I think if you look hard enough, I'm actually a 2,000 to 1 outside shot. So it's been quite the day for England. And yes, once again, congratulations to Iceland. I'm delighted to say I have found our Icelandic follower, who now I've given him all this credit, I bet he doesn't even listen. Hopefully he does. I'll give him a shout out later on. But he goes by the name of Greipur Gislason, he's a Reykjavik-based project manager for the Iceland Symphony and a former festival director for Design March. So there you go. A little shout out to Greipur there. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. If I haven't, I do apologise. I shall call you G Gislason. Anyway, congratulations to Iceland, and as I say, that quarterfinal with France should be tasty. However, John, your time has come. Let's move on to something a little bit more neutral, if we can. Well, you're not neutral. Who am I kidding? Italy 2, Spain 0. I'm just going to let you go for goal because Italy were fantastic.
If I knew the words to the Italian national anthem, I'd just be belting them out right about now. I think lots of people knew that I wasn't looking forward to this game. I was absolutely terrified. I thought, this is it. Italy's tournament's over. I thought it'd be a dogged, typical sort of back to the wall. Spain would have all the ball, all the pressure, and maybe they'd win 1-0 with a late goal or something, and it'd be Italian hearts broken. But it was the complete opposite. It was like the Belgian game. Italy came out and pressed and passed the ball around, and Spain didn't have it. It was bizarre. It just really such a good performance. Obviously in defence, superb as always. De Sciglio came in on the left, and Florenzi switched over to the right for the injured Candrava, which I thought was going to be a huge loss because he's so good down that right-hand side, gets up and down the pitch all day, and is a really good out ball. But Florenzi was much better on the right-hand side than he had been on the left, where he played the previous game. De Sciglio, who has had a lot of praise for such a young player, hadn't had the best of seasons. But today he played like Maldini, who he was, has been likened to when he was in the youth teams. Graziano Pella up front was just immense. Won all the headers, and he was chesting it down for players, winning free kicks, the little layoffs and flicks and everything. Everything was coming off today for him. Eder up front with him, who I was really excited as an Inter Milan fan when we signed him. He just hadn't performed for us really. He only got the 1 goal all season for us. He looked like he was back in his Sampdoria days, picking the ball up, running at players, taking them on. De Rossi only played the sort of 55-60 minutes that he had been, but he was great in midfield, just pinging the ball around. And Giaccherini and Parolo were just so good, just all over the pitch. Giaccherini, I'd love to know how far he ran in that game, because it was unbelievable, because at times he was basically playing from centre back to left wing, the distance he covered. And the sort of the famous Spanish midfield, it was just non-existent in the first half. It wasn't there. It was completely bypassed. They had this wonderful little tactic, Italy, of playing out from the back, and then as soon as they get it into one of the wing backs, they just do this sort of no-look pass straight down the middle of the pitch. And it just completely went over the head of the Spanish midfield, and Pella would just win the ball. He was winning the ball against Ramos, Piqué and Busquets. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then he was straight in at the Spanish back four. And if it wasn't for David De Gea, who had a very, very good game, it could have been more goals. Second half, it has to be said, Spain were much better, but I think they had one chance. Piqué had a chance that Buffon got down to save. That was really the only time he was tested. It was really nice that Pella got his goal right at the end. I was amazed that the only player out of 10 Italians that were all on yellow cards that could miss the next game, the only one who did was Thiago Motta, which might not be the worst thing. I do like Motta, but he does get run past a little bit too easy in midfield. But yeah, they're just, all of them were so good today. The tackles were flying in, the passing was crisp, the hold-up play was great, they counted at the right times, they let Spain head the ball when they had to. Conte was fantastic on the sideline, absolutely loved his passion. The frustration when he kicked the ball away, I had a few mates sending me messages saying, they're very anti-Chelsea. So they were saying, oh, look, typical, he's about to be the Chelsea manager, he's time wasting already. I said, no, that's annoyance, because Italy could have got a goal. If they'd held onto the ball and passed it properly, they could have got up the pitch. It was just brilliant. I was so impressed. I'm worried now. I've got my hopes up too much, though, for the Germany game coming up, because Italy have never lost a game to Germany at a tournament. So, butterflies in the stomach. It was superb, just brilliant.
I love that. I love the passion. That's superb. I just eased back and just listened to you go there. It's good to listen to, and I agree. I mean, they were just so impressive. I want to get.
Just before I forget, because obviously Chiellini got the first goal, but the second goal, I can't point out enough how much Lorenzo Insigne came on. He's hardly been used in this tournament. He's one of Italy's most exciting players, and he really won't get many minutes, no matter how far they go, because he's not a typical Conte player, because he won't track back that much, and he doesn't quite work in this system. But the presence of mind to look up, hold the ball, but then see that there was a switch on, rather than just running into the corner, which then led to the Pella goal, to just seal it, was just absolutely genius. Just really, really good. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's fine. It's all good. I just want to get Ross's thoughts on, in particular, Ross, on the Spanish. I mean, they came into this tournament arguably one of the favourites, just because they are Spain and have technically arguably some of the best players in the world at their disposal. But for me, other than that sort of brief game, was it against Turkey? Yes. Other than that sort of brief, maybe half hour, they never quite convinced me that they were good enough to go all the way in this tournament. They never looked to me like a team that had started slowly and would get better. They just looked like a team that had gone, a little bit, we're going to get through because we're Spain. And that backfired spectacularly against, as John has said, a brilliant Italy performance. But what did you make of Spain?
Unlike John, I was actually quite optimistic about Italy today, and if I was going to put any money on any of the games today, I would have gone for Italy, because I felt confident as soon as I heard that they were going to be playing Spain, because the Spain that I've seen so far this tournament are not the Spain that I've watched for the past 6 years. They seem to get worse every year now, or at least seem to get slower every year. They don't have that slick movement that I knew from them back in 2010. The Turkey game was an aberration, because Turkey were absolutely awful and they set up completely incorrectly, and Spain just passed their way through them. But they weren't good enough against Croatia and they lost. They weren't good enough in the first game against the Czech Republic and they only got through from a last-minute header. I wasn't confident for them. I didn't think they had enough in them to get round what is, in my opinion, the best defensive unit in world football at the moment. They just look so good, Italy, with that back three. It just looks so efficient and so easy for all the players involved in it. The Spanish side, I haven't seen enough of them to truly believe that they had what it took to get through Italy or through the rest of the tournament, even if they did get around them. So, didn't surprise me. I have to admit, I didn't think it was all that shocking. They did try. They did give as good as they got, but I never feared for Italy. I never really thought Spain were going to get anything from it. So. For me, it's not that much of a shock. I'd be interested to see what the Spanish reaction is going to be like back home. I think Vincent Del Bosque has already said that he might leave after this. So you never know. They might be like England. They might be looking for something a bit fresher and bring in someone a bit younger to implement a new style. But no, I didn't think Spain were all that throughout the whole tournament, and certainly didn't think they were all that today.
No, they weren't. And John, am I allowed to claim that I did say I fancied Italy like ages ago? Can I still have that one, even though I did
switch to France? I backed Spain to win the tournament, so you can certainly claim Italy. Just when I looked at the Italy squad after it had been selected, and then there was like Jorginho was left out, and Giovinco wasn't taken, and and some of the striker choices, and I just thought, oh my God, why have you? It's like, I understand Conte, these players have got you there, so you've got that loyalty to them. But come on, there's people playing better than this in Serie A who you could have brought But it's just works. They will just run all day for him. They will do absolutely everything. He said there was a brilliant, I can't remember who put the tweet out now, but someone put a tweet out saying you could imagine that Conte's got the PlayStation controller in his hands because he's just so animated and doesn't leave touch on it, and he directs every player. You could see Giaccherini every sort of couple of minutes just turning around and making sure that, yeah, okay, the boss has told me to move back 2 yards, 3 yards, you know. And yeah, they were really good today. You know, you and Ross are probably right. Maybe Spain weren't as good, but obviously because I was just so nervous in the game whilst I was watching it, the whole time it was 1-0, I was sort of, you know, biting my nails, and Italy probably were a lot more comfortable than I thought. But I thought, you know, I felt a little bit sorry for Morata because he's played with Bonucci, Chiellini and Barzagli all this time at Juve, and obviously they know what he's going to bring, and they dealt with him perfectly, really handled him, and he couldn't get any joy. And I thought it was funny that two teams that are, in Europe at least, a bit notorious for maybe falling over a little bit easy and conning referees and diving and whatever, that anything that was a slight iffy decision, the Italians always got the edge on it. And you know, if someone was going to do the blank housery, as we call it, the Italians do it better than anyone else. So I enjoyed that aspect of the game as well.
Yeah, they've got to be. I mean, they've got to be one of the favourites now because they're just. You just can never rule Italy out, can you? I mean,
they're always very good in tournaments. It's difficult to rule them out because they will just grind out performances. I just thought that overall, the actual quality in the squad, they were lacking in certain areas. And you know, if they got one or two injuries, then I thought they'd struggle. You know, I still think if they lose one of those back three, then it's a big problem. I know Ogbonna played at Juve with them all, and obviously this season he's been at West Ham, but it's not the same. If they lost De Rossi for a game, you know, that's a big loss in midfield. So there still is a few weaknesses in the team, but they were really impressive today. And just to see Buffon singing the national anthem, that always puts a nice little chill down his spine as well. I love that.
Oh, and that save as well. What a man! Just. Honestly, I must confess I'm a heterosexual man, but I'd find it difficult if Gianluigi knocked on my door. I love that man. You can keep it on record. He's just a wonderful man, isn't he? And all jokes aside, what a professional. I mean, what is he, 40 now?
37.
39? 37? Even that, I mean, unbelievable.
I think he said he's going to go on. He wants to play the World Cup.
Wow, and the thing is, he doesn't look like he's in decline, does he?
This has probably been one of his best seasons as well for a long time.
Yeah. Of course, it helps if you've got probably the best defence in the world in front of you. I'm not denying that, but you know, even so, it's credit where credit's due. Juventus back 3/back 4, get Italy all the way. So who knows? We shall see what happens next. Just before we preview the quarterfinals a little bit. Go on, Ross. Graziano Pelle. I know you want to say a couple of words. I know he might be moving on from your beloved Saints, but we couldn't not let you have a little word about him.
Well, yeah, he was fantastic today. He was, I think it's probably one of the best games I've ever seen him have for us or for his country. He can be very, very hot and cold, and there are times where he will try those back heel flicks 5 times in a game and none of them will come off. But when they do, they open up so much space. They just make you sit back and go, wow, he's such a big bloke. How can he get away with something like that? From a club perspective, we have our problems with him, and there are certain issues with his game that need addressing. But on an international level, I don't think he's let Italy down all that much. He's always played with a shirt. He's always run. He's always got himself in the right areas. He's always done his best. And today he was absolutely fantastic. All the good things that came from Italy were through Graziano Pelle. So, yeah, I can't speak on enough of his performance today. I mean, if he leaves us at Southampton, you know, we've frankly been saying that coming since January, so it's not going to be the biggest shock in the world, but it would be a little bit disappointing for Italy this summer, and for how much he's done for the club. He had big shoes to fill when Lambert left. So, yeah, fantastic player. I've got nothing but good things to say about him, but he was out of this world in today's game. Yeah,
absolutely, and he will, of course, get a move on somewhere, and probably back to Italy. I think he's been linked with a few clubs in Italy. So Fiorentina, was it, John?
Fiorentina talks of Juve looking at him as well if Mandzukic leaves. There's a lot of clubs.
Lazio was the other one.
There's quite a few clubs in Italy that will want his signature. So.
Oh, make it Lazio.
I do also hear that someone in China wants him. But you know, I firmly suspect that if he gets the chance to go back to Italy, he will go there.
Yeah, Yeah, I think you're right. His heart is in Italy. Right, okay. So before we get your hipsters' choices of the day, let's have a little preview of the quarterfinals. John, do you want to give us the lineup?
Yep. So we've got a little 2-day break, and then we come back on Thursday. So the first game is at the Velodrome in Marseille. That's Poland against Portugal. Then Friday we go to Lille, to the Stade Pierre-Marie. That's probably horribly wrong. Excuse me.
Malois.
Well, it's written incorrectly, or there's no L or something. I don't know. I was never very good at French. That's Wales versus Belgium. Then we're off to Bordeaux, to the Stade de Bordeaux, for Germany against Italy. And then Sunday, the last of the quarterfinals is the Stade de France, Saint-Denis. That's France against Iceland.
Or Saint Denis, if you will. Yeah. Just quickly, Ross, I'll just ask you on this one. Pick your 4 winners from those quarterfinals. No pressure.
Oh, bloody hell. Poland. I do fancy Poland.
I'm with you on that one so far.
Wales, Belgium, isn't it? That's one of the toughest ones.
Not as straightforward as it looks, is it?
No, I would probably plump for Belgium because I think they're coming to the ball at just the right time. But it wouldn't shock me if Wales get that. Germany, Italy is, I think Italy may just shave it because of the defensive unity. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if Germany managed to finally crack that code. And Iceland, France, I would expect France to move it quicker than we did and to have better outlets than we did tonight. But simply because I'm now biased, I have a way of supporting teams that knock out my team in cup tournaments. So I'm going to go Iceland, even though I'm pretty convinced I'm going to get that wrong. But yeah, I mean the next round is very, very juicy, and I still stand by my preview prediction that we're going to get a new winner, or at least have a new country in the final, because it's just been that kind of tournament and that kind of year.
Yeah, that it has, and we have to give a little bit of love to our guest from last night, Rich Allen, who John, you were on. He called it, didn't he? He did say Iceland win, and I have just tweeted him from the pod account, and I've said if he could give us the lottery numbers, that would be lovely. So he reliably informs me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is likely. So get your money on it, people.
Statistically, as likely as any other number outcome.
That's very true. One day it will happen. It will happen. So anyway, that's enough of lottery.
I would just say on those predictions, I would agree with Ross on every single one, other than I've actually plumped for Wales in the Belgian game.
As have I.
Just because
really
Belgium are so exposed at the back. I think Belgium will probably score, but I just think that Wales will be able to counter on them so easily that if Bale, although he scored goals, he hasn't really had a proper go in a game yet. I just think if he decides to do it, then that Belgian team can be got at.
Also, I think Aaron Ramsey might have a little bit of joy because Belgium do like to push there. Now they've dropped Fellaini. They seem to be very fluid going forward with sort of Fragile Glan and Hazard wide, but they pushed De Bruyne essentially, haven't they? And as good as he is going forward, he doesn't have even space behind him.
It's always nice to support them, so come on, Italy.
Absolutely. And who'd have thought that bloody Wales, would be this far?
I haven't found the tweet yet. I'm going to go trawling back through. But when there was it might have been a friendly against Wales. Did England play Wales before the tournament?
Christ, did they?
Maybe? I can't remember.
They played in the Triangle tournament, didn't they?
Yeah, there might have been a friendly or something before the tournament. But I remember tweeting saying that I thought Wales would get out of the group and England would probably struggle to, and I got laughed at. So ha ha ha.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm nodding away like the Churchill dog. Oh yes. Anyway, let's get your hipsters' choices of the day then. It's probably going to be a bit of a tough one. I've got a feeling, John, yours is going to be
Let
Italian.
Ross go first.
I was just going to say, so I'm going to let Ross go first. Is yours an Icelander, Ross, or have you gone full hipster and gone somewhere else?
Would have loved to have given it to someone from Iceland, but I
got to say the names.
I don't think there was one standout aside from Sigurdsson in the back line, because I thought it was such a good team performance. It's difficult to pick out one. Yeah. So for me, it's Graziano Pella of Italy.
No bias there at all. And John, speaking of no bias, Who are you going to go for in the Italy side? Because I know it's going to be someone.
Well, I did actually agree with Ross that I thought Sigurdsson, of all the Iceland players, definitely was in with a shout. Not just for the goal, but for his performance at the back, was really good. But yeah, it was more of a team performance. It's so difficult out of all those players. They were just amazing. But I'm going to go with my favourite just because he had such a bad game when he played on the left-hand side, but just being moved back to the right today and the delivery he did and just up and down the pitch. And it's not even his position, but I'm going to go with Alessandro Florenzi.
Oh, the flow. Love it. Go with the flow. I've got a decision to make.
Don't get me wrong. You can't.
See,
there isn't an Italian player that any of us could name, and you get it wrong. They all deserve it.
No. I mean, I'd have to give a little shout out to David De Gea, who, not just for his performance today, but came into this tournament under quite the cloud, and has put that very much to the side to perform very well. So I thought he was good today, but obviously in a losing side, Buffon for that save alone. And the whole back 4-3 was superb for Italy. But
and De Sciglio's tackle as well, that little tackle near the end.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna go with Gylfi. I'm gonna have to go with Gylfi. I think just as brilliant as Italy were, that was a pick-em game, wasn't it? Let's be honest. But I don't think any of us could have really seriously predicted that Iceland would do it quite as well as they did, and as you rightly said, both of you, I think Gylfi Sigurdsson was just
Ragnar Sigurdsson, not Gylfi.
Sorry. Okay,
I don't know. Did Ross say Gylfi? Sorry.
Oh yes, yeah. No, you're right. The centre back.
No,
right.
I was aiming for the centre back.
Okay.
Not related.
Let's just give it to all the Sigurdssons. No, let's just give it to all the Sigurdsson family. Right. No. Okay. So we'll get it right then. We'll go with the centre back.
Ragnar
My apologies. Sack the host. He knows nothing. Didn't he score the opener as well? He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So sorry, Gylfi. It's not for you. Bugger off. We're giving it to the other one.
He's ex-Spurs. I'd be stunned if you gave it to him.
Yeah, but he had the sense to leave. Moving on before we lose all our Tottenham fan listeners. Right then, so we were going to do a fantasy football update, weren't we? But looking at the website, they still haven't processed all the points that all of us have made tonight.
From two games, yeah.
So
good old UEFA.
Yeah. So we can't give you an update, unfortunately. All we can tell you is Ross is off the bottom. Hurrah! In fact, you're in the 30s, weren't you, Ross, for a while?
I am. Don't just say I'm off the bottom. Jeez, you're doing me a great disservice. I'm 30th, or I was before the table updated, but 30th.
So you're probably around about 50th now then, but that's fine.
Leave it out.
John, can you remember where you were last time?
I know I was second, I think, out of all of us. Oh no, Tom had overtaken me. I think Drew was top out of all of us.
Drew was highest,
was in, the top 10, wasn't he? Because I was above all of us on after the first round, and then I stopped looking because I took that as a moral victory.
How typically Italian.
But no, I'll if I can get back on later tonight, then I'll see if I can put a tweet out. If not, I'll do one tomorrow. So as you're listening to this Tuesday, I'll put a tweet out on the account and I'll do like the top 3 or something, and I'll give you a rundown of how badly we're all doing.
Cool beans. I know Jabroni's, I forget the guy's name, something Jabroni, the chap we focus on a while. I know he was still top for quite recently anyway, so I think he's doing very well. And I was performing bad. I think I was 16th
as
yesterday.
Usual, our listeners know more than
points
us.
Today. Oh god, yeah, that goes without saying. Easy, isn't it? Okay, so we'll give you an update on that. And transfers, can they do transfers now? I don't know. Is after every round?
I'm not sure if you get any free ones now. I know you did between the group and the round of 16, so you might have 1 or 2 transfers at this point.
Spend your points wisely, people. All right, okay, we'll wrap it there then, gentlemen. A little bit longer tonight, a little bit longer last night, actually. We're spoiling you, but we had quite a lot to cover. I think it's fair to say mainly England-based, but we'll be back. We're back on, what's the next game?
Thursday.
On Friday, did you say?
Yeah.
Thursday, okay, so we'll be back on Thursday after, which game is it?
Portugal.
Poland, Portugal, super. Okay, so we'll be back after that. No idea who'll be on, but it will be, of course, released that night. So we'll be across that one and across all the quarterfinals. So do tune in and do keep your feedback coming. If you like something we do, if you don't like something you do, do let us know, and we will do our very best to keep you entertained. But thank you very much for tuning in. My thanks to Ross and my thanks to John as always.
Thank you.
No problems.
And as usual, keep your pipe stoked and your satchel clean, and we'll be back for the quarterfinals. Enjoy your football, everybody.
Now it drops for Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside! Spain score! Hazard, Rodriguez, a match winner. Is this the moment? It is! Divock Origi! There, and now Keller, and they now have the breakthrough. Fail. To Green FM! Oh my word, what a goal!